If you're not used to speaking on stage, we might be using a very conversational style of speaking, even when we are addressing large groups of people. What I mean by this is that we might be using a lot of filler words like ahs and ums, which may tend to impede our communication or reduce the clarity of the message that we want to give out. Which is why every Toastmasters meeting has somebody called the ah-counter, whose sole responsibility is to listen to the speakers, take a note of all the filler words they're using, and report it to those speakers so we can reduce the usage of these filler words. And that's what we're going to discuss here today, how to effectively perform the role of the ah-counter. Hey, my name is Radeep and I'm the founder of Frantically Speaking, and I love learning about effective communications and sharing those learnings with you so that you can level up your communications game as well. So we're going to break this down into two parts. One is we're going to talk about the introduction and what you're going to say over there. And the next is the actual role and how to perform it effectively. Starting off with the introduction. Now, we're most likely going to be introduced somewhere at the beginning of the meeting by the Toastmaster of the day. When you're called on stage, there are three things that you need to speak about. First is talking about yourself, then talking about why the role of the ah-counter is important, and lastly, talking about what your role really is. Starting off with the first part, talking about yourself, don't focus too much over here because most likely the person who's introduced you on stage has already told the audience a bit about you. Focus more on the second part, which is talking about why the role of the ah-counter exists. So here we talk about what filler words are, give some examples of filler words, and talk about the importance of the role of the ah-counter, which is essentially that we're here to help speakers reduce the usage of their filler words so that it does not impede our speech or communication. Some examples of filler words are words like so like, etc. We have an entire list of filler words in the description below. Just keep in mind when you see those filler words, the aim is not for us as speakers or anybody to eliminate the use of filler words. Filler words help us sound a lot more natural, a lot more conversational. Even for this video, I don't have a script and I'm probably going to be using a few filler words. The idea is to just reduce their usage so that it does not impede the clarity with which we want to communicate thoughts and ideas. And finally, we talk about your role as the ah-counter, which is essentially you're going to be listening to the speeches, taking down the notes of filler words used by the speakers and reporting it to them towards the end of the meeting. If you want a word-for-word script for this, we have it written out for you. You can click the link in the description. It'll take you to a downloadable PDF which you can print out, take for your meeting. It's a foundational script, so you can add your own spunk to it as well. But if this is the first time you're performing this role, you can just stick to the script. Okay, now let's move on to the role of the ah-counter and how to perform it effectively. First thing to keep in mind is try and arrive early if you're nominated for this role, so you can sit in a place where you can clearly hear all the speeches. Second thing to keep in mind even before the meeting is to arrive with a pen and paper so you can actually take down your entire ah-counter report. We created an entire reporting template for you as well, which you can get by clicking the link in the description. All this is entirely free. You can print it out, take it for your meeting and use it for your ah-counter report. When it comes to performing the actual role of the ah-counter, it's pretty straightforward. We just need to make sure we're listening intently to the speakers, keeping an ear out for filler words, taking a note of them and reporting them towards the end of the meeting. When it comes to your ah-counter report, you'll be called on by the general evaluator towards the end of your meeting to present the report. When you're called on stage, take your report with you, face the crowd, name the speaker along with the use of filler words and how many times you use this particular filler words. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the delivery aspect of the ah-counter. Now, if this is the first time you're performing the role of the ah-counter, or if you're a very nervous speaker, don't worry too much about memorizing your script or about sounding very flamboyant when you're speaking to the crowd. The idea of having these roles, timer, ah-counter, grammarian, while they do have their importance when it comes to the technicalities of public speaking, to me, these roles, because they're simple and small, they help me get a lot more familiar with the stage. Before giving my icebreaker speech, performing these smaller roles like ah-counter, timer, grammarian just helped me get a lot more comfortable and kept building my confidence slowly to speak in front of crowds. And that's the only way we really need to look at it if we're performing this role for the first time or if we're really nervous to speak in front of crowds. And that's about it. If you have any more questions when it comes to things like Toastmasters, communications, or public speaking, we have an entire website with in-depth articles and resources dedicated just for that. So go check out franticallyspeaking.com.